Okay, and then finally understanding. So what does that mean? Well, it means that students are to develop key ideas of how knowledge is organized in mathematics. How do people really use math? They don't use it by doing little bitty steps. They really don't use it by being an on-demand kind of, here, produce this, here, produce that, here, produce this. They encounter it in real-life problems. They encounter, and I know we've talked about problem solving for the last 25, 30 years, but we're trying to move kids from being novice to at least being apprentices in doing math. I don't think we're going to get them to be experts, not by the time they leave us. That's the path they're on. We want them to think like a mathematician. If you look at the standards for mathematical practice, that's what you'll see. You'll see what a mathematician does. They look for regularity, they generalize, they model with math. They're very precise, they persist in doing problems. Do our kids? I don't think so, not unless there's been a miracle since I quit. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. How do mathematicians actually do that? We want them to evolve from particulars to deeper structures. Now, saying that, I'm not talking about a method of teaching. There are times where you teach a generality and you draw specifics out of it. I'm not making that distinction. What I'm saying here is that there are a lot of specifics that are in the standards. And if you only teach those in isolation, you miss the point of the standards. The understanding comes from trying to dig into that and say, okay, we'll get to some of this later on when I talk about the presentation, but when you try to dig into this, what do kids do that understand at a deeper level? What is it that pulls those particulars together in general, deeper structures? And then we have the standards for mathematical practice, and I'm just going to show those. I mean, again, so many of you have looked at this. This is just a slide to remind you of where we are with this, because these are important if you look at them. Now, I was in a meeting with Bill McCullum a couple weeks ago, and his concern is this. If we attach the standard model with mathematics to every story problem we have, it becomes meaningless. That is not what modeling with mathematics is. It's not what problem solving ever was either, guys. But that's what we did to it. It meant if it had words, gratuitous or not, it got called a problem. And it wasn't really. We've got to have some kind of understanding of what this means. And I urge you, if you read no other part of the standards really well, read these documents, the paragraphs that are under these standards, because they're really well written. There was a lot of discussion about it. Some really good people worked on these a long time, and they're pretty good. Can they get done? Don't know. Hope so. Okay, so now assessing the Common Core, and we're going to come to structure. This began in the fall of 2010, and the federal government did get involved in this point because they had monies available through Race to the Top for states that would cooperate in consortia around a common set of K-12 standards. They did not mandate the Common Core state standards, but any group that applied used the Common Core state standards as their K-12 standards. Now, did they know that? Well, yeah, that was sort of what was available. So, you know, it's not entirely innocent. I mean, that was what was out there. That was what was new. It probably was the intent. But states were not mandated to do this. There were two consortia that received funding. Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium. And I tried to import the map for this one, but they had a really messy, different kind of map on their website, so I threw it out. And the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers, that's PARCC, that's the one that Illinois is serving as one of the governing states for. This is the map that kind of shows PARCC. Now, oh, that's interesting, different colors. Okay, the darker colors are the governing board states. The blue, light blue colors are participating states. Some states are participating both in Smarter Balance and in PARCC. Did you have a question? Oh, Partnership for the Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers. I have to practice that. I think I got all the little connectors right that time. In all, 44 states in the District of Columbia have currently adopted the Common Core State Standards. I meant to actually say that earlier. And I know Minnesota is in the process of looking at the adoption and probably will do it soon. Some states are kind of participating in both, aren't sure which direction they're going to go for the consortia, but both of these consortia are built upon a couple of principles and founding ideas and principles in a framework. I'm not going to try to talk about the PARCC consortium today because, quite honestly, the last information I had was from a July meeting, and things have changed. They have had their framework out for comments. You're going to have people from ISBE here. They are much better positioned to talk about what is at the moment. But again, you have this on the back of your handout. This is how you go online and look at what they have and see where they are at this point. But there are a couple of things that they agreed upon, and they're very important for what you're going to have to deal with and how we're working on assessments. First of all, PARCC said, at every grade level, there will be highlighted domains. Now, by that is, it's an attempt to reflect the focus of the standards in the assessment design. So one of the grounding things for the assessment design, at least as far as I know, I don't think this is going to change. In fact, I'm sure the highlighted domains are going to stay. That isn't going to change. The goal is to report subscores that are equated across the years in certain highlighted domains at every grade level. There'll be 1 or 2 domains that are highlighted for grades K through 8. And then at the high school, we'll talk a little bit about the organization in a bit, there will be 1 or 2 highlighted domains for every conceptual category. That is for number and quantity, for algebra, for functions, and so on. There'll be 1 or 2 highlighted domains in each one of those. And then the second decision that was made that isn't going to change, and this is actually common across the 2 consortia, and that is that evidence-centered design is going to be used, and this was developed by Robert Mislevy and his colleagues at City College of New York. We have Howard Everson working with PARCC right now, but I know that the Smarter Balance Consortium is also working on evidence-centered design. We're going to go through that in some detail because I think it's important that you see that. An important part of evidence-centered design is the development of prototype tasks. Now, what I'm currently involved in with the Dana Center down in Austin, Texas, is the development of prototype tasks. And we'll go through the process for that. I'm going to engage you a little bit in doing some of that during this talk. But prototype tasks are being created so that they can be handed to whomever is selected as the assessment vendor for this project. So we'll give that off to whoever gets that bid. I'm not even mentioning a name at this point. It's just so, you know, because the stakes are so high. They're so high financially and so on. And the goal is that what we write for prototypes are so clear and provide so much guidance that nobody can mess it up. You think you're scared? Should be in my shoes. Okay,